Psychology 101 and the new mind disorder. No, that was not a spelling mistake. I think the word psyche and psych in the word psychology, those are intentional puns on the word sick, or crypto puns from the multilingual, who knows who, maybe the Jesuits. This should be interesting. A lot of work done on this presentation, not so much visuals, but some very deep writing had to be done. But before I begin with my written work, let's look at my opening image. The number 101 is based on the Masonic image of two pillars and circular objects in the middle. We see them here, the eye, the sun, the moon, the compass, and the circle. I did call it a zero, but also called it an O. Well, as a zero, it could also represent nullification. This is the position between two pillars is the place where we are nullified. I think I spoke about this in some of my speculations on how the world cannibal cult executes or executed humans. These were, the pillars are electrodes, and there was a throne or electric chair between them. The number 101 also has use as a number that identifies introductory university courses. Quite common. Psychology 101 is probably a course in many universities. Curiously, before that tradition began, that naming tradition, I believe George Orwell used the number 101 to identify the room in which Winston and others were tortured. Well, we can take that to mean what we will. Of course, Winston was tortured in order to comply and agree with everything O'Brien, aka the state, wanted him to believe. Not so unlike university courses. So today's presentation on psychology will, of course, borrow nothing from existing psychology paradigms. There we go. The psychology of room 101, the psychology of education. A couple of quotations from the book from which I will read. Psychology bandages victims, never stops the war. Mentology pursues mental fitness by improving mental diet and mental activity. Somewhat exactly analogous to how we improve physical fitness. Well, let's hold off on that slide. I begin my reading. It's an excerpt from the Book of Mental Fitness, a chapter in the Encyclopedia Comedia. Section 1, the gods, aka WCC, made us in their image of ellipsis. This mind share was inspired by a peer mentioning the Bible verse that claims God created us in his image. Is that claim true? The Bible's God is a jealous, wrathful, genocidal maniac who favors one ethnic group because their ancestor, Abraham, was willing to kill his son for him. Are we made in the image of this God? Are we a jealous, murderous, wrathful people guilty of favoring certain people for no good reason? Some of those descriptors do apply to many of us. Not to all. Christians assume God created us in his image of himself, and they assume that's a good image. But that is not denoted by the statement, God created us in his image. That statement could mean that God created us in his image of anything, including the image of his ideal slave or ideal human livestock. I spoke about this in my mind share. They bred shorter humans to devour. Judging from the Bible, God did not shape human behavior on the seventh day. Instead, on the sixth day. Instead, he spent thousands of years conditioning everyone to fear and obey him, and thus to develop in the image of the perfect slave. God, I mean the WCC, certainly doesn't want a population of thinkers who know who rules them and who understand their role in nature, which I partly revealed in Homo sapiens, the lost keystone species. Instead, the WCC wants emotional people, so they gave Jews and Christians an emotional God who has no interest in nature. All religions are anti-nature and anti-human nature. And the essence of human nature is thinking. If we only obey, believe, fear, hope, love, and feel excitement, we are not thinking and not quite human. The idea that thinking is the essence of human nature contradicts the opinions of philosophers and teachers who argue that human nature can be good or evil. In my opinion, evil is simply a sickness, and goodness only exists where thinking has produced knowledge of our role in nature. Our pre-civilized ancestors fulfilled that role much better than we do, but they were simple people who rarely thought about anything. So they were easily lost. So they easily lost what little wisdom they had when civilization destroyed their world. But civilization is a blessing in disguise. It is the emergency that commands us to think. Section 2, my image of the gods, aka the WCC. The deepest image of the gods, the WCC, reveals that the members of the WCC overestimate their intelligence. Their intelligence is an artificial intelligence, even an illusory intelligence. Their contempt for nature is their stupidity, and their contempt for everything except themselves and their creations means they must love us, for they created us. But they clearly don't. So they are in a state of contradiction. Moreover, because contempt knows no boundaries, they also hate and exploit each other, especially their women. And despite being hedonists, they foolishly sacrifice almost every natural pleasure. Parenting, gardening, and physical play, they only enjoy activities that cause suffering for others, and that is a corrupted, lesser form of enjoyment than non-sadistic enjoyment. I admit that people enjoy sadistic actions, even sadistic humor, but that is a corrupted or limited form of humor. Sadism is always premised on the repression of full consciousness. The sadistic consciousness refuses to be conscious of the pain it causes, so it is limited. Unlike the common criminal who simply ignores the effect he has on others, the sadistic consciousness delights in causing suffering because its personality is premised on the belief that I am intelligent or I am just while you are stupid or you deserve to suffer. This superiority complex, this belief, is very serious, which limits the ability of consciousness to create humor and joy in humor. I, on the other hand, do not seriously believe that I am superior or more intelligent than others. I might know that I am more intelligent than some, but I don't care if I am. So I am quite capable of mocking myself, admitting an error, and changing my opinions. Section 3. They made us their opposites. Well, they want us to be their opposites. Short-lived, like the Christian hero Jesus, who died at the age of 33. And they want us to be like Jesus, the angry, passionate man who was submissive to the state, and sadly, not very intelligent. At least two kinds of mental sickness exist. The sickness of the oppressed and emotional working class, and the sickness of the oppressive, heartless ruling class, whose laws are opposite of ours and the opposite of the Bible's 10 Commandments. Let's review those commandments. The first, you shall have no other gods before me, so you must worship this one God. I am sure they worship no God at all, mostly, and mostly worship only themselves. This long paragraph is more of the same. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who well, don't blaspheme. I'm sure they blaspheme quite freely. Remember the Sabbath? I don't think they care. Honor your father and mother. Now that's interesting. I don't think they honor fathers and mothers. Certainly not mothers. Fathers? Doubtful too. Um, they don't honor anything except themselves. They can't honor father and mother very much, not very genuinely, because they are not loved or cared for or played with by parents. You shall not murder. Of course, they murder, they commit adultery. Well, they're not monogamous. They steal chronically, they lie chronically, they desire everything we have. Well, that sums up part of their being. I think I have some more to add in my notes. Okay. Right. They can't love their children either, because that might interfere with their exploitation of children for blood. So they don't want to. They instinctively avoid loving children, their own included. Their culture depends on being cruel and sadistic. To ensure that we don't become like them, they gave us religions and cultures that encourage us to be creatures of love, compassion, obedience, peace, submission, fear, and hope. They made us into the opposite of their image. I mean, the opposite of themselves. Before the Bible presents the Ten Commandments, it mentions two other laws or commands, implicit laws. In Genesis, God commanded Adam and Eve to never acquire knowledge. And unlike the Ten Commandments, this command came with the threat of death for violators. Where is that quotation? Genesis 15 through 17. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. And the Lord God commanded the man, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die." Well, it is their wish that we remain void of knowledge of good and evil, that we become amoral creatures, and they've become quite successful at shaping us in that mold. Now the WCC believe they have a monopoly on knowledge. They don't, because they don't have true knowledge, which I call wisdom. Their knowledge is partly a product of fear, pride, envy, sloth, and perhaps of each of the seven sins. They are extremely proud of themselves, and they are afraid of growing old, which is why they inject themselves with infant blood. It is also why they wrote verse 3:22 in the Bible. Have a look. Where are you? Genesis 3:22. And the Lord God said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil." Oh, he must not be allowed to reach out his hand and also take from the tree of life and eat and live forever. What is that tree of life? Could it be an infant full of blood, of course? It's an interesting, very interesting verse because it announces that God does not want humans to live forever. And heaven is not a solution, a loophole. I assume that even Christians believe when in heaven they are alive. So when God says, "I don't want you to live forever," that also bars us from heaven. And that number, verse 3:22, is associated with the Skull and Bones secretive society at Yale University. And we're back in school. It's the pro-death, the pro-death society. Let's call it that. Well, so God does not want us to be immortal. That translates into the WCC does not want us to know their secret medicine and live long. The WCC is a cult characterized by immorality and a quest for immortality. They pursue immortality through immorality. Now we know why only one letter distinguishes those two words. They are nearly identical. They, the WCC's members, are cold and sadistic people. So they wanted us to be passionate and compassionate people. Therefore, they gave us passionate music and passionate characters, and they gave us religious heroes who are compassionate and sometimes passionate, like Jesus getting angry in the temple because of the money changers, and being angry at the Jews whom he accuses of sacrificing people. What a hypocrite, or what a hint. They are non-monogamous, and they treat women as commodities. We are monogamous, and we are taught to respect women and to never imagine some women don't deserve respect. They live in a patriarchal world. To make us their opposite, they gave us a culture that emasculates men and gives our women excessive pride in their power and sexuality. Not all women fall for that cultural toxin. Additionally, our culture portrays women as victims, invites them to be victims. Furthermore, while both genders are being economically exploited by them, our men are burdened with guilt complexes. Our men are considered toxic, and our women are given unfair advantages in the courts of many nations. This artificial conflict between our genders amuses our rulers, who in their world are patriarchs. Maybe not artificial conflict, but manufactured conflict. Absolutely. And I should add something about the what's the opposite of favoritism? Yeah, the discrimination or even the racism happening against white people, Caucasians, men especially, European Caucasians for people who are very finicky about words. To further entertain themselves, they further corrupted our culture with gender confusion ideology. So now many men and women reject the natural law of heterosexuality and believe that by rejecting that law, they are being brave rebels. Oh, they are brave rebels, but one adjective is missing in that description, and that adjective is stupid. Their mind controllers are laughing at their great rebellions against the old social taboo against not being strictly heterosexual. Section 4, we are also alike. But we are not entirely the opposite of our manipulators. We are also cruel, proud, and sadistic, but only towards each other. We can't harm them, not economically, except by quitting the economy, and not psychologically, except by mocking them. But only if our mockery is based on fact. And no fact is more devastating than the fact that they are also stupid. Of course they are. They are only able to create our stupid culture because they are stupid. They can only create our toxic culture because they are toxic. They make us waste our energy on stupid education and stupid jobs while they waste their time creating and maintaining our stupid world because they want to be entertained by our stupidity. If you disagree with this psychoanalysis, perhaps you imagine they didn't laugh when they convinced billions of us to believe that a non-existent virus threatened our species and that we could only save ourselves by wearing breathable masks and destroying our economy. They are constantly laughing, or at least smirking, and why not? They made us believe that CO2 causes climate change, that nuclear bombs exist, that dinosaurs existed, that the Earth is a ball flying around the sun 100 times faster than a bullet, and so on. Finally, They are stupid because they enjoy our stupid comedy. Like any drug, the comedy of stupidity is not sustainable and never quite satisfying, which is why they are constantly increasing their dosage with more ridiculous lies in order to make us stupider. Now, thanks to the degradation of our already stupid education system, and thanks to games, porn, the media, and pocket televisions, aka cell phones, and much more, we are becoming stupider. As we reach peak stupidity, the effort the WCC invests in making us stupid starts to exceed the satisfaction they get from our being stupid. Peak stupidity also marks the moment when our effort to ignore our stupidity begins to fail. Not believing in death is stupid, but sensory evidence cannot challenge it. In contrast, not believing that AI and robots are a curse is hard to dismiss when sensory evidence proves that millions of people are losing their jobs to AI, and you might soon be a victim. Likewise, not believing your world and its rulers are evil is a stupidity that can be challenged by sensory evidence. That is happening more than ever as I write. As our stupidity reaches peak stupidity and peak evil, people are losing the fight to believe that their world and its leaders are not evil. More and more people are noticing the evil and becoming critical of the people who are evil and of the stupid people who ignore this. Section 5. Their I God is making us in the image they want us to have, and you can guess what that image is. This chapter was inspired by Cronut's suggestion that data centers will be used to implement a Chinese-style social credit system because China also has data centers. I suspect that is only a fraction of the truth. The number and size of data centers in the US already dwarfs what exists in China. So something worse than China seems in the cards for the US, and maybe more than the US. I recently listened to Silas speculate that the world controllers neither want nor need a high-tech surveillance network, because imposing such a monster on us would give us a reason to rebel, and because we are quite willing to surveil ourselves and our neighbors. Whether that is true or not, the scale of the US data center still raises the question: what purpose will AI and data centers serve in the US? Maybe they will turn life in the US into a credit-earning simulation game. Maybe everyone will have their personal AI friend. An AI, let's pronounce it I, A, and the letter I together can be pronounced I, which sounds like that familiar word, E-Y-E, the Illuminati I. So let's call this AI, I friend. Let's call him, her, it, I God. It is a new kind of God on whom everyone is becoming reliant. Well, maybe everyone will have their personal I God made in their image. What do I mean? The image produced by decades of data collection on each of us. That will be our image, the one we are familiar with. But our personal I God will also help the world controllers make us even stupider than the currently available public AI, which has already made many of us stupider than we were, mostly the young people who are more dependent on it than older generations. In addition to getting personalized iGods, everyone will compete for the points they need to live. That's me speculating about what might happen, what might be in the cards. We will compete. Well, we're already competing for money. That money will be translated into maybe, or converted into, or replaced, let's say, by credit points. These points will be earned by working at so-called jobs, or will be rewarded for doing other stupid things like protesting imaginary problems. Imagine that. Imagine being rewarded for protesting. Yeah, why not? If they are imaginary problems, they'll make you feel good and you get a reward for it. Or maybe you'll get points for dancing in the streets, or for smiling and laughing, or will be rewarded for thanking iGod for the fake food on our plates and for reporting to iGod the identities of ungrateful miscreants, critics, and nonconformists. Voluntary surveillance. COVID-19 was a warm-up. We are primed and ready. Additionally, thanks to new tech and computing power, not intelligence, we will be entertained with more fakery than ever. Not only fake food, fake pandemics, fake wars, and fake safety, but also holograms and real grams, not illicit grams, but maybe the flying saucer crap invented by our militaries for our distraction. Who knows? Maybe iPhones and technology will also fake religious and supernatural phenomena. People will finally see holographic images of their religious heroes and ancestors. Maybe iGod will receive messages from dead grandparents. But only if iGod knows you are someone who wants to believe such illusions. Maybe iGod will produce holograms of aliens in the sky, which would be similar to what the Capitol did in the Hunger Games series. These are some of the future scenarios, stupidity scenarios, stupid scenarios. The WCC might be planning to create the stupidest comedy ever seen on Earth. But this madness will also intensify peak stupidity and force millions of people, I hope, I imagine, I predict, it will force millions of us to start thinking. Thus, perhaps the curse will become our blessing. Final slides. There is the positive image of everyone's favorite psychologist. Isn't that a friendly, benevolent, healing gaze? Yeah, I had some fun here. Hurrah! Project Bluebeam. Finally. If anyone's interested in my work, I do have 2 of my 6 books in the Lulu's online store, and one friend has just received, I believe she is the first to receive physical copies. You can't imagine how much work these books have gone through. 20 years. This is volume 1 of the Holy Spells. I think Lulu did a decent job, and me too. This is the back cover. I did not know what to do with the back covers, so I put one of my paintings, an image of one of my paintings on the back. This is from long, long ago, when I was just a young man. And yeah, the reproductions are good. I think this is one of the images I used in my last Judgment of All Religions mind share. If you wish to contact me, you can do so at Prophet of Fiction at proton.me. These are the 6 books I mentioned. The Holy Spells is ready. Counterfeit Classics is ready. I read today from Encyclopedia Commedia. The Criminal Bible will be, I promise, ready soon.